news here. Contracts, couple extensions.
Uh-oh.
Rashawn Slater, officially the new highest paid offensive tackle in all of football. 4 years, $114 million. That's $28.5 million per year. Just goes over the top of Tristan Wirfs, who was $28.125, and Penei Sewell, who was $28 million. This one, I mean, well-deserved. Obviously had some injury issues, injury history early on in his career, but last year was one of, if not the best left tackle in football.
Here we go again, Harry. It's these pictures that I love that you put up because it's always these offensive tackles. We talk about getting these astronomical space-type numbers for new contracts that have these lean builds. And the first video I saw of this young man not playing football was him in the weight room doing front squats in what are essentially rec specs with the entirety of his team around him and just beast moded like 400-pound front squat. I was like, this guy's going to block a lot of people. He's going to get it done quietly and efficiently. He's done that. He had the tricep issue in, I believe, 22 or 23. Last year came back, was dominant. And look, if you've got a quarterback like Justin Herbert, you spare no expense to protect him. They've drafted Joe Alt in the last year and a half. They're going to have Slater locked up through 29, I believe. Look, they're doing it the right way in Los Angeles, and Rashawn Slater is at the top of the game when it comes to offensive tackles.
I've been covering the Big Ten for quite some years now, and when Rashawn Slater was at Northwestern, it was the first time I remember turning on a game, no disrespect, Kyle, to watch the tackles. I just wanted to watch Rashawn Slater play football. I didn't care about anything else going on. I said, okay, apparently this guy is some Hall of Fame candidate, and he's a sophomore in college, and that's exactly what I saw. And he is smooth as butter, and I love using that because you can use phrases with him that don't really apply to any other offensive tackle. He's not the biggest guy, just like Kyle said. He is so smooth. I'm convinced he could play 3 other positions out there on that field, not even part of the offensive line, a straight athlete and well-deserved.
This is now for that 2021 first rounder. There has been so the first 13 picks, if you were not a quarterback, so there were 4 quarterbacks drafted in that span, the other 9 guys, 7 of them have extensions. The lowest paid one of those 7 is making $25 million a year. And the other 2 that haven't been extended are Kyle Pitts and Micah Parsons. It is truly that 2021 draft class was a spectacularly loaded top of the draft. The other extension.
And hey, Penix says he's going to throw to Kyle Pitts. I don't know.
He might get. Yeah, you might get. You might get.
You guys saw that? He's like, y'all.
I don't believe him. I won't believe any Kyle Pitts anything until I see it.
Dude, everybody needs a guy like Michael Penix Jr. in their corner.
He is great.
The other extension to get to here, Jake Ferguson, tight end for Dallas Cowboys. He gets a 4-year, $52 million deal. This comes a couple of years after they actually drafted a tight end in the second round. Cowboys did, but Jake Ferguson had a breakout year then. Was banged up a little bit last year, but I think this one's well-deserved. And if you just look at this contract, $13 million a year for what I think we'd all agree is a top 10 tight end in the NFL. There's no other position in the NFL right now where you can get a top 10 player for $13 million a year. Maybe running back, but like wide receivers, you're getting backup wide receivers making $13 million a year. So to get a guy like Ferguson at this number, it just feels like no tight end's ever going to hit free agency anymore because it just doesn't make sense not to pay him.
He helps every single facet of that offense. And now with some changes to the wide receiver room, you need a threat in the middle of the field. Ferguson is a Wisconsin guy. You know he's going to block. He loves blocking, can bring him back at fullback, get creative with some formations, and of course can attack the middle of the field, keep those safeties honest, keep those linebackers honest, keep those cornerbacks on islands with your 2-star wide receivers outside. And for $13 million, you do that every single time.
Yeah, you're talking about the middle of the field, and it completely makes sense because this guy Ferguson, tight end, he's going to be in the vision of the quarterback a lot. But when you've got those 2 receiver threats, and you can attest to this as a guy who's played in the secondary, oftentimes you allocate one of your 2 safeties, and I'm just using a too high look as kind of the regular model here. You allocating a safety to one of these receivers to make sure that they don't beat the one-on-one on the outside. Jake Ferguson has the ability to stretch the field. So if there is a void at the 3rd level of that defense, I anticipate Ferguson making some explosive plays for this offense this year. It's important to get him locked up.
Yeah, I expect the Cowboys to be majoring in 12 personnel this season. So 1 back, 2 tight ends, because 1, you have really only 2 wide receivers. You have George Pickens, you have CeeDee Lamb. We discussed that. But then your 3rd guy is Jalen Tolbert. He's okay, but you don't necessarily need that third guy on the football field. But you also have two quality tight ends. Luke Schoonmaker as a tight end too. He can run the seam. He's fast. He has good hands, and he can block. So getting those two guys out on the football field, it just then creates more space than for those wide receivers on the outside to work. So I would expect, just given the personnel there, that we're going to be seeing a lot of that in Dallas. All right, this is the story I wanted to get to. I've been excited to get to ever since it broke last week. And there's been whispers about, going back to a month ago, Mitchell Renz reported that Christian Wilkins may miss this entire season with another foot injury. He obviously signed that $100 million deal last offseason with the Raiders. They release him over the weekend after what's been called an incident. There's no more known about it. The reports are that it's weird. It's very weird, but an incident in the team facilities obviously didn't happen like in a practice. He's not been practicing. He still has that foot injury that may be, keeping him out this year. John Feliciano, a former teammate of his, says brother's always been a little freaky. Was the quote. You've seen the multiple clips of him going back to Clemson, to his time at Miami, where he, did something to Josh Allen that got him upset in a pile. He did something to an Ohio State guy in the semifinals that got him a little upset. That was actually pretty obvious. He just grabbed his butt cheeks, or maybe you went a little deeper than that. But this one, what do we think? Like, we discussed a little bit before. We don't have to go too deep into it, but like, what has to happen to release a guy 1 year into a $100 million deal to eat $52 million to basically play, fewer than 300 snaps in a Raiders uniform? What do we think's going on here, Kyle?
I mean, well, Mike, you tell me, but we know that it wasn't something that took place on the field. So you can take all the documentation of things that have happened on the field and you can essentially throw it out. But I can attest as a player that when you are sharing a common space with 52 other guys, and during the offseason, even more around this time of year, it's like 90 guys, right, Brock? Yep. It's 90 dudes. I mean, we're fighting for space. They create, makeshift locker rooms in the building to pack all these dudes in there. And I was talking to Brock and I was talking to Mike before the pod, and I was explaining to them that obviously with that volume of people, and Brock knows this, you're going to have 90 different personalities. You're going to have 8 to 10 different groups, cliques that, are on the same frequency when it comes to senses of humor or boundaries, socially or comedically. You can roast me, I can roast you. Okay, this is our thing. Guys like Christian Wilkins, and based on what we've heard from former teammates of his, I would say that there's probably 4 to 6, maybe 8 guys in every locker room that have a sense of humor that not only toes the line, but goes well over the line. And along with those 6 to 8 guys, let's call it, that have that sense of humor. And I mean, they cry laughing at the stuff that they do. They're not offended by anything. Nothing's off limits. Then there's the 8 guys on the other end of the spectrum that are made very uncomfortable by some of the things that happen in a locker room. And it could, run the whole gambit of things, examples of things. But there's always a group of guys that may not like what's going on. And you have to keep that in mind when you're in a leadership position, when you're starting a new culture, as Pete Carroll is and the Las Vegas Raiders are. And obviously, whatever it was that Christian Wilkins did or did not do was serious enough for them to let him go. And as you put, $100 million deal, $50 million eaten in cap.
Kyle, you bring up the point about Pete Carroll, and that cannot be understated, right? This is Pete Carroll, USC heyday, all the stuff that was going on there. Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks, fun-loving guy, really didn't discipline much. So for Christian Wilkins to get booted 1 year in, we have to expect this to really kind of knock us off our feet a little bit whenever whatever details do exist do come out. I'm just shocked that for a Pete Carroll team to boot you, it's bad. And 2 things here from Christian Wilkins' standpoint. One, you never want to be labeled as the guy who doesn't work to get back on the field. And if that's the PR campaign, the label that's going to be around him, it's going to be really difficult for him to get into another locker room. And lastly, with Christian Wilkins, the NFLPA is going to fight on his behalf, as unions do. Look at the state of disarray that the NFLPA is in. So I wonder how that will affect the quality of fight on his behalf. this is a mess, and hopefully it gets cleaned up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it really is. And from Wilkins' perspective, I mean, if he does really have an injury that's not going to let him back this year, he turns 30 in December. We'll be coming with this. Like, there may not be a big contract looming for him after this. He may have to take a 1-year prove-it deal, and it might spell sort of the end of his effectiveness if his foot really is, unfortunately, that injured.
Dude,
All right.
and this really sucks, Mike, because we were so excited about this Raiders front, and we were,
I know,
rightfully so, pumped
Yeah.
to watch all these studs up front for the Raiders, and we're just not going to see it. Last year we didn't get it. We're not going to get it again this year.